the book side. If during the discussion part, if you want to ask questions about the book side, we'll talk about that as well. We're going to talk more about the journal side, because I think that's where most scholars spend.
Red neighbor perhaps for 18 years in another life.
I got my chance to get my hug from Gail last night.
Sorry about that. Okay, well, this is how to publish and present it. We have motivations, personally and professionally, but we do research not for ourselves. Isn't that kind of interesting? We do research for audience, scholarly community, practitioner, practicing community, policy community. So the abstract is the most concise recap in this guided theory. So this is also important. So shared anxiety analysis technique, given the quality refining process, and also seek feedback from the seasoned professors or the authors.
In 2023, it was my first time joining this conference, and I had a roundtable presentation, and at that table I also met Dr. Stephanie Sorbit. At that time she was not the president. Oh, she's here. Her paper, it was already a published paper, and I really admired her and feel that's my role model. I should also publish my paper, not just presenting at the roundtable. And after that, in 2024, I came to MSERA conference again in Tennessee. And that year was my transition from preschool to higher education in my field. And the abstract was accepted. Then I kept writing the paper with my team. And yeah, now the paper is ready to submit to the journal. I mean, the full paper. Yeah, so I'm really excited about the journey. Really appreciate MSERA present, also help us to get it published or share our publications. Yeah. And that's all for my part.
Talking about the purpose and how I'm the cognitive person and the cognitive person. And there's a lot of research that's just about monitoring our own time. And it's how we structure our time, and it's how we think about it. So I'm kind of tailor-made for this one, even though he was joking. But you're gonna start off with your IRB, and that might be, it's okay if that's painful for a little bit. Once you learn about the IRB at your institution, you'll learn the way the first time's the most painful, the second time it's a little less, and intentional. They do have good intentions, right? They're trying to look out for the protection of your participants. So it's hard to get super duper annoyed with them when you understand their purpose. So I don't know the way to shortcut that. Just learn it. That's your shortcut. The faster you learn it, the faster you get through it. So then, how to write more? Well, the obvious answer to that is research more. Many years ago, someone gave me a guideline and said, have your research, your body of research, have 3 projects going at a time. One that you're imagining and preparing, and at the same time, a different one that you are implementing and collecting data, and then a third one that you are analyzing data and writing a manuscript. They didn't tell me about that pesky little revise and resubmit, because it doesn't fit in these 3, and it's painful, dude. It's painful. You're gonna find when we start talking about what journal to put things in, they're highly specific, they want things a certain way. If you don't give it to them exactly the way they want, they're gonna turn it back to data collection, one in analyzing and writing, and then a 4th one in revision. So if you follow those, and you plan those, you will have things in process all the time. And some of that's naturally gonna happen, because at the end of most manuscripts, there's a discussion section that says next steps, so you're gonna put your current study's findings in light of literature that's already been published. And so that's gonna naturally kind of lead you to a next study. So it's not, we're not talking 4 projects that are in 4 completely different areas. You're gonna feed into these. Provost ad. So structure your time as if it's a meeting with yourself or a meeting with your provost, and you have to account for that. It's usually, I mean, meetings along those lines are really not that structured because they're just not. But it could be. So in your head, prepare for it. If you set my personal time is Fridays. I don't take a meeting on Friday. I don't ask me. I'm not gonna have a meeting on Friday. That's my research time. And I don't violate it this much. I'm preparing these instruments so that at the end of my structured research study time, I can see measurable progress on all of my projects, on all of my 4.
That you're going to select. There are 9 zillion journals anymore. There have always been a lot, and particularly with online publications, where in the world do I even start anymore, with choosing a journal? We threw a few pictures up here. By no means an exhaustive list of journals we might have in our field. So, and I'll go through this slide. And
See if it's attached with an organization or university. If it's with a prestigious university, normally there's no problem at all. Like for example, my school is focused on language, and in my school library there are journals all about languages. If you can go to a school that's very specific in your field, it's easy to find journals.
A reference list, and if you find that one journal's coming up often, that may be the journal that your article's in.
Good
excellent.
idea.
Yeah, if 12 of your citations are from one journal and you're publishing that same area, you probably want to think about that journal as a internet. You can get your journal, get your article. They don't need a subscription. Kenny, you had a question?
Organizations require you to put it not behind a paywall. They want their stuff out in open access, and so if you write a grant, you may want to write in there the thousands of dollars to cover that fee.
Establishing funds to help their faculty that publish. You can actually apply for money from that fund. Unfortunately, mine doesn't have that. Some are getting aware of this and are starting to make it available. Anything on that before we go to the next slide?
All right.
Research in the school.
Raise your hand if you presented this conference. So every one of you have a publication that needs to be submitted to Research in the Schools. So go back, write up your presentation, send it to me. That we have a dedicated email address. It's rits, R-I-T-S, at msera.org. If you have questions, reach out to me. We also have some flyers downstairs on the registration desk if you want to grab one of those that just provides a very short summary of what the article would need to entail.
Research is not sitting nicely in any specific field. Homeschool research is not. There are homeschool journals, but they don't.
I would suggest, I drilled that aims and scope. I think Ibrahim also talked about it in his part of the presentation. Read the aims and scopes and do your best to try to read between lines sometimes, because sometimes they'll be very general. We publish studies on action research in school-based settings, and okay, that can mean 100 different things depending who's reading it. So call the editor if you need to. Send an email to
Done
the
some
editor.
homeschool research. My dissertation was, what I found was journals wanted, some journals just wanted to understand the phenomena, which is what you probably want to understand, and I want to understand. My research questions, what do they do all day? But what I found is if you can make a connection, and I don't know if Mark's here, Mark Wildman and I, but we made the connection about 2 years ago that into parent involvement in regular schools. And so conceptually, we said, well, who's the most parent involved group of people? So we study homeschoolers as parent involvement, and then you put a traditional schooling setting in it. and the thing got published in 2024, and it has like 54 citations already on ResearchGate. So you can do it. It's about to become the most. I mean, so you can do it. I think situating it. But the other thing is, though, you got to protect your pure love of homeschooling research and that phenomena. And so I think you have and within that you have my pure homeschool research. I want to understand the phenomena, but then you have a subline that is, what's the application to traditional
And
schooling?
early on, the thing that helped me the most of all was the MSERA deadline. I knew that by July every year I needed to have something at the stage that was ready for presentation. So for me, that was an annual thing. Is you're presenting one or two things at MSERA every year that should keep you on track.
Practice of literature, which your aim is as a person who has reviewed manuscripts, if it is a practice article, think about having somebody who is not necessarily real familiar with what you're writing about read it, because I find oftentimes it's like there's some assumptions in there that, and if you really want people to take it for practice, you want people to be able to make meaning from it. So just as somebody who has read a number of manuscripts, think about having someone who maybe is not enmeshed in it, so that of course they're going, to everything they read.
Thoughts of taking the things, I mean, we're getting the idea of, hey, take the presentation you did and turn that into a publication. What's some advice of how to go through that process?
Special. So I submitted a paper last Friday that was to a journal that was taking a like new issue that was on AI. So my paper was on AI, but then they rejected it right out. So they really contacted me only a few days later and they said no. So just trying to figure out like how do I mitigate that and why that happened. So really what the editor said is that it said this is great, but you know, maybe look at other journals.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You do it. It doesn't, it has no meaning for you. It's not an indictment of you as a person. It's not an indictment of you as a scholar. It has nothing to do with you because they don't know you. They can't. And even though they ran that thing, probably through AI before they rejected it, but they still don't know you. And so what they tell you is nothing personal. And it does suck that you spent the time to format it in the way they wanted for that journal. That's why Larry's comment, when they reject you, if it's a shot, a Valerian root, of whatever you need to dull that impact. And then you turn it around in the next month or so and you move on to the next one.
Index journals, high impact journals. But it may not be necessary, especially for the emerging scholars. You may also consider not indexed, but also edited book chapters. Chapters also mostly covered by our institutions in the Mid-South. I know that teaching is mainly as the first thing that you look for. But if you publish in an edited book, that would also come. Particularly, start with experimenting, trying not indexed journals, edited books, which are relatively easier to publish, because I'm not saying that they are not, as rigorous, they do not have as rigorous, review process that they do, peer review